So, welcome back everyone. Yep. So, tonight I'm going to be reviewing a game called Doki Doki Literature Club. Now, before I get into this review, I do want to state that this video will be talking about topics such as self-harm and the topic of suicide. Now, normally I do give trigger warnings for some games I do review, but these two topics are kind of they're kind of brought up a bit in this game, and since they are brought up in this game, I do want to give a trigger warning to anyone who generally might be uncomfortable with these topics. It is okay. I do not need the view. I do not need the views. Even if this video does not do as well compared to my other videos, I do not care. For anyone that is suffering from the topic from suicidal thoughts or is currently struggling with self-harm, I do want you to know that you are valued. And if you need to, there's help available. Just call 988 or text. This is the this is the suicide and crisis hotline. It's always available, and it's in English and Spanish. And as far as I know, this is in North America. I don't know where the other numbers are, but I'm going to try my best to find any link or any other number I can find if I have to. But with that said, if this makes people uncomfortable, please do not watch this video. Please watch something else, and please get help. The world does not need to lose you. But with that said, let's get into the review, and hope you'll have a wonderful night. So, Doki Doki Literature Club. So this is a visual novel that has some horror elements. Now, this was a really interesting game, and I first played it back in 2022. The game follows the main character joining a poetry club at the behest of his childhood friend Sayuri. Of course, in the club are a few other girls, the leader Monica, the tsundere Natsuki, and of course Yuri, Yuri's cool. And the whole point of this club is just to write poetry, and that's pretty much it. And that's kind of how the first part of the game really goes. You're just writing poetry and spending time with Sayuri and your other club mates. That's until a certain part. There's this one part in the game that, after a bit of time, Sayuri ends up confessing her love to you. Now, there's two choices you can make. You can either reject her, or you could agree to a relationship, if I recall correctly. Now, depending on your choice, it really doesn't matter. Unfortunately, the next day you find out that Sayuri actually tragically took her own life. And this is really one of the most shocking moments in the game, because it's just really so unexpected. And at first I thought I got a bad ending because I rejected her for the first playthrough, because I thought you could romance Sayuri, only to turn out that no matter what you do, this happens regardless. And that's kind of where the game gets a bit weird and kind of steps into more horror territory, because something seems wrong, and it becomes quickly evident as, Natsuki disappears and Yuri commits suicide too. And really the final part of the game is just you being alone with Monica, and you have to write poetry for her. Then of course Monica is eventually I think she eventually disappears from the world, and that's pretty much the game. Now, there's another part where you kind of, you know, it's, I guess, a abridged version. It's similar in the story, but I guess this time Sari is the leader of the club, and it's definitely an interesting part of the game. So, I guess what are my thoughts on this game? Is it worth getting? Is it a fun game? Well, I personally did have fun with this one. Well, the game is a bit dark and honestly really depressing. I still do think it's a really interesting game. And it really, it definitely does approach these topics in a very serious light. And I definitely applaud it for that. And it's generally a really, it's generally a really emotional game to get through, especially as someone who's had a history of mental health issues. Seeing it in a game like this kind of it definitely does get one to think. And of course, the poetry itself is also really good too. I did trophy hunt this game. I never got the platinum, but I've come close to it, and I generally think it's one of the more challenging platinums I've gone for. I also really love the characters too, and I love the subversive nature of it because you expect it to be sort of like a dating sim or rom-com, only to really find out that it's a full-blown horror game after a bit, and I really enjoy it, and it definitely is one of the standouts in the genre as both a horror game and a visual novel. I personally recommend this one. But I personally do recommend this one to anyone who hasn't played it yet. But of course, do be warned that if you are struggling with mental health issues, I seriously would definitely urge you to probably play something else, because this game does get really serious, and the mental health of my viewers and friends does matter a lot to me. But if by any chance you want to play this game, it's like literally on like every console now, I think. But it's definitely worth checking out, and if you do play it, hope you enjoy it. But that's all I really have to say about this one. Of course, before I do go, definitely be sure to look out for yourself. And of course, once again, if you generally need to get help or talk to anyone, definitely please do. Even if you're just watching this video, if you generally need a hug, just leave it in the comments, or you can at me on Twitter if you're viewing this from there, or you can at me on Blue Sky. But, just the TLDR is just, look out for yourself. Times can be tough, but, you're tougher. And once again, thank you all for watching this video, and I hope to see you all next time. Peace out.